Good morning, good afternoon, very much good evening. We're live for the first time in quite a while, I think. We've not done a live show in quite a while, but I thought it was worthy of doing a live show tonight because I don't know about you. Have you got the post Pinfest blues? I think I have a little bit. It just didn't, I was knackered, but it just didn't go on long enough. I felt I was absolutely exhausted and probably could have done with going home. But what a wonderful weekend it really was. There's so much to say. I just thought the weekend was a perfect blend of a celebration of pinball, everything that was good about the hobby. We had examples of fantastic people that do restorations, enthusiasts, collectors, people lending their machines. We had the competition. We had Poi Bug falling asleep and getting surrounded by who was it? Princess Leia, Han Solo, and Darth Vader, most critically. Darth, you're probably safe with the other two. It was such a great social event. And I've got some guests with me today. If you've already been on the forum, then you'll know who they are. So I'm not trying to be mysterious. I just want to say, and I know the guys will as well, want to say a massive thanks to everybody that was involved. And I'm conscious that I will miss people out if I try and remember everybody. But just Phil puts on a marvelous show, and everybody, basically all the Blue Smurfs, everyone from Northern Lights, do such a great job to help facilitate it, and even things like watching Elsa running around trying to put the numbers on all the machines. It's not an easy thing to do. I guess if you've only got 3 machines, it is. But when there's over 150, which I think they were, it ain't easy. How hard Sean worked, how hard Paul worked, and Wayne was exhausted. There's so many people there, and Tim put so much into doing the streaming and everything. It was a fantastic event. Right then, anyway, let's bring in two massively enthusiastic people in the pinball scene. Not a hair between them, funnily enough. We've got Craig and we've got Rich. Hello, fellas.
Hello.
All right.
How are you?
Very good.
Yeah, wonderful.
Rich, a good weekend, mate?
Yeah, absolutely loved it, mate. There's so much to talk about, and like you alluded to earlier, it's kind of like a bit of a hangover. We're all tired and wired, but grateful to have had that experience. And yeah, there's just so much to talk about. Yeah. So
have you played pinball since you got home? Have you played pinball?
I have actually.
Have you? Okay, good. And we got Craig with us. You've played pinball, Craig, since you've been home?
Yeah, I have. My little man, he's honestly completely obsessed at the moment. He wakes up at 6 a.m. and he just wants to play Godzilla. So yeah,
I don't know where he gets it from.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and he only wants to play Split Flipper with me. So I haven't actually had a game on my own, but yeah, I have been down there. I have been playing. So yeah.
You only scored a paltry 11 million with the little man on the split. 11 billion, should I say? Yeah. Look, wonderful guys, wonderful. Where do we start? Let's start. Rich, give me your overview of the weekend, mate, please.
Wow, how long have you got?
Like an hour.
Yeah, I mean, where do we start? I mean, as a competitive player, I mean, the competitions were marvelous, but the whole setup was just fantastic. And, having been to every Pinfest that has taken place in that Mercure place since it went there, I would say that this was the best one in terms of attendance, in terms of quality of machines, in terms of the tournaments, in terms of the new people that are coming to pinball. It really feels like pinball's on the rise and is booming. And I've got a few shout outs I want to get out of the way. I'm sorry if I miss anyone, but obviously, I've got to give a big shout out to Big Phil at the helm of this ship. Having spent a bit of time with him, a little bit hanging out, he's so calm. Like it needs someone with that centeredness, laid backness. He didn't feel like he was getting stressed at any point. I'm sure he probably would share that, but it felt like he was very calm and relaxed. And even at the end when they were packing up, he was wheeling the trolleys and getting the machines onto the lorry, and he's like, he don't mind getting his hands dirty, and that's wonderful. And also Elsa Clooney from the Scottish crew and what she did for the NBA tournament and the ladies tournament. I love the fact that it's in separate rooms now. We're not all crammed in. Sean Harvey in the classics and what he did in there. I'm sure Craig would agree. I hope I'm not taking or being the one that shouts out. I'll speak for everyone here, right?
Yeah,
like Wayne Johnson and Paul Garner in the main tournament. Everyone who bought machines, of course. Tim at Pinball Live doing the streaming. What a wonderful job he does. Very professional. Looks amazing. There's so many people I want to give shout outs to, the hotel staff and the breakfast and
it's like the Oscars, isn't it? It's like the Oscars.
I don't want it to sound like an acceptance speech, but like I know it's very cliche to thank all these people, and I know it's been done in the forum, but I'm sure I'll speak on behalf of everyone, for those shout outs. And there's other people I want to mention. I made a little list of things I want to touch on, so I'll pass the ball to Craig, and I'd like to hear what Craig has to say about the overview of the experience and any shout outs.
Yeah, no, I think you nailed it, mate, to be honest. Like those are all the key players. I think those, all the people who are just keeping the machines running as well. It's just so important, isn't it? The NLP guys, they just work tirelessly. They clearly love it as well. But they're not paid. This is just for the love of the hobby, for what we all love. And yeah, all those guys that you said, are massive, but it wouldn't exist without Phil. I think that is so important to say. He is the person who stumps up the cash at the beginning. He is the person that this all happens, and it does need one person to do that, and it is him. And seeing him there outside with all of his family, with his little niece who's 8 weeks old, all those kind of things is just like, I just felt overwhelming gratitude. I just felt so grateful that I had that opportunity to be there for a day extra than I normally get to be there. It was just basically my best weekend of the year. It was just awesome.
Well said, boys. Well said. I mean, I felt there was a point. I mean, because I feel a real celebration of UK pinball, and I know you both feel exactly the same way about the domestic scene. Because I know you've both travelled and you've both seen what it's like overseas during your competitive play. But there was a point, I think, during the I think with Martin, I think during the awards ceremony, quite possibly, well, not quite possibly. I think it was when Paul got his award actually for the forum, and it sort of dawned on me. And you talk about Phil there, and I thought, this is really the best of everything, and I thought about Phil, and I thought about Pinfest, and I thought about the forum and what it gives, and how the forum allows us to. You don't know how to rebuild a flipper, you post it on there. You want to sell your machine, you post it on there. You want to have a chat about energy prices, you post it on there, or whatever the case may be. Learn some tips, learn some tricks. Find out if you're going to get ripped off or not. Go on the forum. They'll tell you whether you're going to overpay on a pinball machine. It's a fantastic service if someone's going to tell you whether you're paying £2,000 too much for something. Believe you me. And I thought about that. It was wonderful. And then for the NBA machines, if I just actually add, because there was the ladies tournament which was going on, and as you said, Rich, it was done in a separate room there. I've got a funny, actually I can't tell the funny story now. It's a funny story. I learned something in the ladies room, let me tell you that much, this weekend, by the way. But just the way everything was put together, and I focus on that there just because of those two NBA machines which you can see. Refurbed by Chris B Pinballs, parts paid for by Pinball Heaven. And then when you just start looking at all this, you start looking at the forum, you start looking at Chris, you start looking at Phil at Pinball Heaven, you start looking at the NLP guys, you start looking at people like Elsa and Tim with the streaming, and I think I'm going to call Wayne El Presidente now of because he's basically got the top job in terms of tournaments, running tournaments and competitions and whatnot, and decision making. I think it's just absolutely magnificent, and I felt a massive pride to be involved in this celebration. That's what I look at it as of UK pinball, which of course is going to continue. Obviously on the competitive side for the UK Open on the 29th. Have I got that right? 29th of September in Croydon. Are you playing in that, Rich?
Well, I've signed up for it. Yeah. I put my name down. I mean, be stupid not to, wouldn't you? You know. Yeah.
But you played, yeah. So okay, so let's we'll talk about a few of the things. Just first, did you have much time to look at any other machines, or were you really focused, Rich, on the tournaments this time? Because obviously you played in the classics, you played in the main tournament. I don't think I didn't see you in the ladies tournament or anything like that. So I think it was just those two. Were you purely focused on that, or did you have time to take in some of the other stuff around?
Well, yeah, I had the Friday night to sort of. I feel that the Friday night VOP night is a really wonderful introduction to the whole Pinfest experience. You know, with Neil Stauble and Phil on the mic, and the whole hype of the that moment when you walk in and you get to, I played a few casual games. I played a few games on the tournament bank, but I was equally interested in the other machines there. And so, yeah, we go round, like there's just so many opportunities to play. I didn't play any of those that WWF Royal Rumble, but there was machines that you don't get the chance to play, and it's also an opportunity to catch up socially. And so yeah, Friday night I did get a chance, Gons, to play machines outside of the tournament bank. So Craig, how about you, mate? Did you? Because I know you came on the Saturday, right?
Yeah. I got there early doors on the Saturday. Obviously, I wish I could have been there on the Friday as well, but it was so nice to have a full day on the Saturday. I played a few games, but mainly it was just catching up with people, seeing people that I haven't seen for a long time. I stood and admired Ants T2 for a long time,
Yeah.
and had a chat with him for a while. And I played a few games just kind of out there, and I spent a bit of time out on Chris Beeves' games out in the foyer for a bit of time as well. But really, it was much more just kind of every kind of 10 meters you'd walk, you'd see someone that you know and you love, and you'd want to spend an hour with them, and then there's another 10 meters, there's another, and it's just like, yeah, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was so good.
It really was. It was really quite an event. So Rich, on Friday night, I saw you. You bumped into me, and do you remember what? Well, not aside from hello. Do you remember what the first thing you said to me was?
Yeah, did you bring your mattress?
yeah. Well, after you asked that, you said to me, "Can we go and have a little go on your Batman?"
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You did.
And actually, that little practice game came in handy because I ended up in the semi-final on a deciding game on your Batman.
you really did, and I thought I was really impressed with that. Actually, you can probably see it's just in shot now, just on the right of your screen. There you go. I think it's Alan playing it then. Actually, and I was really impressed that, wow, you came up and you basically said to me, "How's it playing?" And actually on the Batman, one of the screws had worked loose over the weekend. So actually the left orbit shot, as you both know, because we all spoke about it, had got a little bit tighter. But I was just really impressed from a competitive player's point of view, how you basically got in there and said, "Okay, tell me a little bit about your machine." And you said, "You mind if we have a little game of doubles, and can we go through the rules?" And as I came to learn throughout the weekend, learning the rules is so crucial on these games. Let's talk about competitive pinball for a bit. Before I do, it is worth just popping this up from Phil, by the way, Craig.
Sorry, Phil.
How good was she, by the way?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. 8 weeks, that's incredible. Like, they were there for hours and hours, like the whole family. I was just like always smiling, always happy. Just fair play to you lot.
Absolutely. Let's just pull up a few things. So Yodelay, is it Yodelay? Yodelay, hey hoo, that'll do. Hey Jim, how you doing? Alan Jones there. Hello, Alan. How are you, mate? I think he might be he's after a new pinball machine by the sounds of it, from what I noticed today. Howdy, Stuart. What else we got? I'm having to look round the camera. Retro Heed. Evening. Louis says good morning. Yes, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. So I say it, all things covered. Reese has got something to say, actually. Hi, Reese. He says, basically, I don't know if you can both see this. So Craig in the Classics finals was awesome to watch, and Rich's game on blackjack in the finals was hype. We got a lot to get through there, and David, who funny enough is in one of the clips on the Classics actually, says, I'm late, didn't realise I'm going to watch from the beginning. Before we start, I'm sorry, David, he's not watching now because he's watching from the beginning. Did you see what happened to Jurassic Park?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, David. No, yeah, it is one of those rites of passage. Fair play. The way he dealt with that was in such a positive way. And the fact that then he just replaced it with another game, to bring 8 games like that. He's one of those people that was just, he's only been in the hobby for like a year or whatever. And he's there just turning up with 8 games.
Yeah.
He didn't strap his game down very well. And unfortunately, basically ripped the gun off. And, we've all been there, mate. I think that's the thing, isn't it? We've all done something like that where we just want to just fall into the ground. But yeah, the way you dealt with it was amazing, and I think the way that everybody dealt with it, outpouring of love from the community to kind of go, look, let's help him out. I know they had an issue with their diner in terms of getting the board going as well, and they turned up, and instantly the NLP guys were like a swarm around the machine. Let's get it going. Let's help these guys out, because ultimately it's all about giving, isn't it? So yeah.
Honestly, best hobby in the world. It really is. Right, let me just pop just 2 seconds, because this will help us segue into what I want to talk about. We don't let's just watch this very, very quickly. So I just want to give people an overview of we're going to talk about a classics tournament now, and I want to give people a little overview of what it looked like in there. That's Craig. I think that might have possibly, he's going to tell us in a second, I think that might have possibly been the last game out of the 3 to decide the winner, although it did go to a playoff to decide 2nd, 3rd and 4th place. You were both in that tournament. Craig, tell us about that. Tell us about the Classics competition. Big prize, £1,000 first prize, and then I think second prize was 300. And then 200, then 100.
That's right. Yeah. It was immense. Sean and all of his helpers, the people who were there, basically the whole weekend, they just kind of stayed in that room. It was so cool. It was such a great tournament. It's brutal. That format is so hard. It's so unbelievable. It's such a grind. Me and Rich spoke about it quite a bit over the weekend, how much of a grind it was, because basically it's only the top 16 that got to go through. There were 8 machines, and it was just the top 2 on each machine. So you basically just had to put up one massive game. That was the way that it was. And so you were just sat there until you could string one amazing game together. That was basically it. And there were clearly a lot of people believed that they could do it, which is awesome. And that's the way it should be. And it entices you to keep going. But yeah, it was fantastically run. There were very few issues. A lot of competitive people trying to find their way into that top 16. In the end, the cream did rise to the top. A lot of the people who you would expect to be there were there. And then it was 3 games. So you got grouped into groups of 4, and then it was 4-2-1-0 in terms of the scoring over 3 randomly selected games. And you would kind of compete against each other in order for those points. So then it would go from 16 to 8, and to a final 4, and that was basically how it went. Rich, do you want to say anything about the Classics?
Yeah, I felt, Craig, it was like a sanctuary, and when you're in the main room and you're bombarded with all that sensory input, it felt like the Classics was like a little place to sort of chill out. Although the tension, I kind of I like the atmosphere in the Classics room, and I thought I put in a pretty decent game on Flash Gordon, And then I just saw the score bleed away, and I was like, "Oh no, I have to go back and work some more," because I really wanted to be in the playoffs. And I'd be very surprised if either of you didn't sort of give it a best shot. But you got to draw the line, at so many tickets, and just call it a day and say it's not my day or whatever. But then I went back in there, and I got to give a shout out to David and Claire, because David told me how to play his Locomotion, that Zach game. And I think Zach games in the forum get a bashing, but I think they're really underrated. I actually love Zach's now, and he kind of told me what to go for, and I top scored on it. And then I had a game on that Sorcerer Craig. My first game, I think on my first ball, my first game, I got like 4 mil. And I was playing a 20-minute ball on it. It was I just found it so easy, and it was So I top scored twice as the Locomotion, and right next to it is Sorcerer, and that Sorcerer plays lovely. I don't know who Sorcerer that is, but that's a wonderful game.
That one was Steve Paget's, actually. That one came from
was
Electric
it?
Circus. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you find it? How were you on that Sorcerer, Craig? I saw you put up a massive score.
Yeah. No, it played so nice. It was basically it's a one-shot game, isn't it? And if you can find that shot and get control of it, it was great. Yeah, but then really, if I'm honest, that was the one that let me down in the final. Because that one came up in the final. It was in the middle there, and I felt so comfortable on it. It's a bit of the story of my whole weekend competitively, to be honest. The two games that throughout the whole of out of the 150 that I probably would have chosen to play came up in my biggest deciding moment. So Godzilla in the main bank, and then Sorcerer in the classics, and then I just didn't produce when it came to that moment. Which was a bit of a shame for me, but at the same time, somebody else rose and did a lot better than me, and so fair play to them. But yeah, no, it was brilliant. It was a brilliant competition. Like, very, very few issues. I know Circus went down for a bit of time, but other than that, they, and these classic games, they are really hard to keep running. Do you know what I mean? They were played constantly, hours and hours and hours on end, and they just kept going and kept going and kept going. So fair play to the owners of those machines. It clearly kind of put them in those amazing states, and for the people looking after them as well. So I talk quickly about the final.
Well, yeah, please do. There was something because I watched it. I just want to go. Rich said about the atmosphere. Now this is the first video I'm doing on Pinfest. I actually done something different for the day. I've got to stitch the video together. We've got a few videos. We did how to put a ticket in on a competition, didn't we, Craig? I've got a video on the classics competition, a few videos to put together from the day. One of them I'm doing is a vlog of the last day. And the first thing it's basically the last day, the final day through my eyes. I thought I'd just do something a little bit different. The first thing I did went down to the classics competition. You could cut the atmosphere with a knife. I mean, you really could. Not nasty tension, but it was deadly serious. It was sorry, I can't believe I'm talking about nasty tension. I haven't even muted my bloody phone. Excuse me. It was clearly so serious. And I think when I went down there, it was. I didn't even want to walk in, right? Because I'm aware of that. It's funny when I'm not playing, I'm aware I don't want to be in someone's peripheral vision, but I'm also aware that actually when you are playing, somebody 5 meters away over there, you're not even conscious of anyway. But still, I don't know why I did a little ducking motion, like it would make any bloody difference. But even when I was in there, I was really thirsty and I needed a wee. I thought, I dare it. It was so I didn't even want to move, right? And it was really obvious. So what I wanted to ask, I think, was, Craig, I'm just going to pop this up now because it will remind me of what game it was. It wasn't Locomotion. It's this one. It is Sorcerer. Okay, I think it's Sorcerer.
Yeah, it is Sorcerer.
I think it might have been the second ball.
Yeah.
And Andy, I think it was his second ball on that. I think he was behind. I think he might have had a crap first ball.
He did. He had about 35,000 after the first ball. Yeah.
And I might be a novice and not read it right. I felt he almost won it then.
Well, to be fair, like I had a very good first ball. I put up about 900,000 on my first ball. And then I capitulated basically, because it's funny how it goes. You kind of get off to a lead. Nobody does anything else on the first ball, and you're like, I've got this, and you relax. And then all of a sudden, Andy comes and he basically put up the same score as what I had, and you're like, oh, there is that feeling of like, I had a lead, and then my second ball I did nothing, and then my third ball I did nothing as well, and it was like, yeah. So he basically did win it there because he'd already won the first game on Locomotion, and then to be fair to Pete, so Peter Blakemore, it was me, Andy Foster, Peter Blakemore, and Matt Vince in the final, the four of us, and Pete came last on Locomotion, and had two terrible balls on Sorcerer. And so it looked like he was going to take a last and then another last. And then all of a sudden on that third ball, he just came back so strong. It was that third ball that Peter Blakemore played was unbelievable.
Like 2 million or 2 billion, whatever it was. Yeah.
So about 2.5 million. And he basically started that third ball on like 100,000, like nothing. He played for a good 7 or 8 minutes there, which in the final, under that weird kind of, eeriness of the quiet and everybody there just looking on, and the thing is as well in the classics it is funny in comparison to in the main, because when you're in the main, there's the show is there as well. Do you know, you've got 100 people behind you, they're all playing games and stuff, and so even if they're in the finals, you're watching, obviously in the actual final four it's a bit different, but there's loads of other noise going on. Whereas in that classic room, and also because of the nature of these machines, they're just going bing, bing, bing. It's like tiny little noises. It's not like it's not like, they're not saying super jackpot or whatever, It's,
sure.
There is an awkwardness, there is an eeriness to what's going on. And it is just like, nobody really knows what to do because it is tense.
It's
and
quiet. It is quiet, isn't it?
Yeah, it is strange. It is a strange environment to be in. I loved it. I'm not going to lie. I absolutely loved being in that environment. I love, putting myself into those positions is what it's all about for me. I absolutely loved it. But yeah, so basically I came last on Sorcerer. So I came third on Locomotion and last on Sorcerer. So going into the last game, Andy had 6 points. Peter had 4 because he won on Sorcerer. Matt had 3 and I had 1. So basically, I knew I couldn't win because the best that I could achieve was 5, and Andy was already on 6. So it was kind of like, well, obviously I'm going to try my best, and I managed to win on TX Sector, which meant that I said this to Andy afterwards. I was his co-pilot basically because Andy actually lost on TX Sector. He came last. He got 0 points. He ended up on 6, but because I won, if any of the other two had won, then they would have won.
Sure.
So that was it. But because I won, it meant Andy won, and so it ended up being 6-5-5-5. So me, Peter, and Matt, and all ended up on 5 points. So you couldn't get really much closer in a final than that, really. Andy just beat us by 1 point, but then we had to have a 3-way playoff, which was that one that you had the video of before.
Yes.
And I managed to take that down with the last ball, and I finished second.
One of your favourite games as well, Craig.
I'd never. Oh no, it wasn't Flash Gordon.
Oh, it wasn't. No, it's next to it. Of course, it was. Sorry, mate.
What was it called, Rich? That weird one with the ace, king, queen in the middle, and you had to hit them down and hit the targets on the left and right.
Something.
That girl
something
one.
to do with poker, wasn't it? Lady Luck.
Lady Luck. That's it. Yeah.
It was Lady Luck. It was Lady Bad Luck for a couple of months.
Oh God. Like, so basically we worked out what you needed to do in the end. There were a few guys who obviously sat on it on qualifying, and basically they told us what to do. So effectively there were 2 targets along the left and right, and if you manage to get all the targets down in one ball and hit those 2 targets on the right, then you get 10x scoring for the rest of the for that time. And so basically it was just like get that lit and then just bounce the ball around, and then all of a sudden your just score goes from like nothing to massive amounts. So basically, it just became a who could do that. And in the playoff game, I managed to do it twice. So yeah, I took that one down and got second, and 300 quid, which I was very grateful for. What a lovely prize, and I appreciate that from Sean massively. Obviously, it wasn't £1,000, which would have been nicer, but I was really pleased to have come through it at that point, and to be involved with a great final. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, and it was a great post. It was so exciting to watch that final. A slow pinging of scores really added to drama. It did.
Yeah.
It really did. It's I don't know. I don't know. Romance is probably the wrong bloody word. There's nothing romantic about it, but there's something going on with those older games. I know that much. And I wasn't there last year. I found out about the Classics tournament once it was over. And in all honesty, I probably wouldn't have entered it last year anyway. It was too early in my pinball journey, if you like. But I felt that held up every inch. As part of a massive part of the day, and something that all of the top guys wanted to win. I mean, you've only got to look. Matt and Andy were obviously in both finals. That showed how seriously they took it. And you play a lot of pinball, you guys, over the course of the weekend, which I think is exhausting. So if you weren't into pinball, you listen to this, you think, what the bloody hell is he going on about? Walking around playing on arcade games, whatever they would think, but it's hard to focus. I mean, it's a strain on your eyes, strain on your ears, on your feet, and it's actually mentally exhausting. But anyway, Rich, so I mean, you were in the finals, but you were in the knockout round, and you got through to the next day, because I came in and I saw you there. You just didn't make the final four, basically.
Well, just to say as well, Rich by far was the best player in qualifying by an absolute country mile. He topped on two machines and had other scores that were right up there as well. He was the most consistent across all of the classics, in the ones that he played. So, I think everybody was pretty fearful going into the finals against him.
Oh, thanks, Craig. Yeah, so the classics playoffs. Yeah, my experience of the Classics tournament was a mixed bag. I thought I'd got a qualifying score that would hold up on a very tough playing Flash Gordon, and then to my horror, about 3 p.m, a couple of people had passed me, and then all of a sudden I've got to go in again. And I put up a decent score on Locomotion, and then played Sorcerer and smashed that. So I had 2 firsts, and it really felt that with an hour to go that I wasn't going to be beaten. So I qualified quite comfortably. And then in the playoffs, I 12'd my first group, which means basically you win all 3 games comfortably. And I felt so good, Craig. I felt so good. I thought, this is it. And like, pinball's a fickle mistress and can kick you in the nuts at any minute. Right.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm in a group with Andy, Peter, and forget the third player. Andy, Peter.
It was the young lad who I didn't know, who was really good on that. Owen,
that's right.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
Owen. And we played we played TX. No, what did we play? Yeah, I remember the games now. Sorry, Stargazer. Because I'm still quite tired, so finding files is quite tricky. So yeah, I remember now. We played Stargazer, Genie, and the third game was Flash Gordon. Now, those probably would be my least favorite in that bank. I struggled on that Stargazer, and I actually took a 0 in that game, and that didn't sit very well with me. But Genie, I came back, and I think I finished second. So going into the last game, basically Andy was through. He'd won both games, and so I was on 2. Owen. Well, basically, it came down to this, right? I won't go into the math, but it basically meant that there was one finishing order where it would have been a 3-way tie for second, and it looked likely that was going to be the case. Peter was chasing like a 300k on his last ball on Flash Gordon to avoid the 3-way tie between me, Owen, and him. And I've got to give a shout out to Owen. He hasn't had much tournament experience, and for him to be deep into a tournament at that level and not feel phased is testament to his
absolutely
composure and temperament. Because as you know, Craig, it's as much about keeping calm under pressure as it is the skill set that you have. And for someone that's hadn't had much tournament experience, it can feel overwhelming. And so he handled himself really well. And I kind of encouraged him and relaxed him and was saying, you've done really well. Anything else from here is a bonus. But yeah, Peter needed 300k. Not chasing 300k, a whole 300k on one ball of Flash Gordon, which is far from easy.
No.
And halfway through, the ball got stuck, and Sean had gone AWOL, and so Pete had a long wait, and we were all nervously waiting. because it would have been a 3-way tie for the semi, for the final. It was to get into the final,
Yeah,
of course.
to get to the final. Yeah.
And then but Sean unstuck the ball, and Peter did the business, and
Fair play. Fair play.
So he basically knocked me and Reese out, and so but I gave the classics a good shot. I love classic machines. Craig would tell you, like it's my era, really. Those solid states and EMs. It's the moderns that I get lost on. The rule sets are a bit deep, but I was just pleased to be a part of it, and I stayed to watch most, if not all, the finals. Certainly the deciding game, and fair play to Andy Foster, and
absolutely.
He's really showing why he's the UK number one. But I would say for you, Craig, that if we were to give Craig like a different career and no young family and sponsor him to go to all these tournaments around the world, I reckon Craig would be a top 20 player in the world, no doubt. I've no doubt, mate.
I appreciate that, Rich. But Andy's the man that deserves all the credit. Like to take down the main and the classics is it's ridiculous, isn't it? To be fair, it's a high level of consistency. We had more players there this year than many years. You're looking at pushing 100 in both competitions, which was amazing for the classics to have that many players. And so for Andy to show that level of consistency across all those games, all those different eras, was just wow. It was exceptional, to be fair. Fair play to him.
It's a bit like someone showing up on qualifying in a 2-hour window 2 years in a row and taking taking down the main.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that.
I was so impressed with what Andy did there, because actually, it was going to prove to be the case later on. He really stood up in some of the big moments. I'm not saying he didn't. I think he played. Look, he played well in the final, in the main competition as well. But there was a particular point that was just going to seal it, and it was one ball. If it's possibly his second ball on Jurassic Park, bang. And just sort of almost blew it away there. But he was so good. But as I understand it, he on the Saturday night, he wasn't particularly happy with his qualifying. And he got asked out, Andy, do you want to come and join us for a curry? And he said, no, actually, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay here and sort of nail this qualifying. I'm going to get a bag of chips and nail this qualifying, which he did. I know he said the next morning, he was pleased he did that. And he said on that morning when he won both tournaments, he says, I'm in the zone. I feel like I'm in the zone today, which is obviously a massive thing. What you said about Peter there, having to wait all that time when the ball stuck, and then still going back to it and then sort of refocus, it cannot be easy at all, surely.
No, it can, and that comes with practice. Pete's been doing this for so many years as well. He's had so much tournament experience, and he when his back's up against the wall, like he rises, I think, and he proved that in the final as well. Fair play to him. He had a really good tournament in the Classic. He actually didn't. He was one of the big surprises. Actually, he didn't qualify in the main. I think he finished like 30th or something like that, so just outside the top 24. Whereas there were a few surprises in terms of people who might have qualified inside the top 24. But I'm sure we'll talk about that.
Well, maybe. Very bizarre. Very bizarre situation. We'll get to that presently, I'm sure. I'm a little bit sheepish about it, actually. I feel like an imposter. Before we do, talking about the main competition, we will talk about that main competition. Again, I'll just excuse me while I sort of pop this up. I'm just going to switch the light on as well. That's right. It'll mute it. There's Rich there. So this is actually the main competition, and this is in the final when it's down to the final four, which was amazing. Brad's there watching on, Andy there watching on, and Matt who's just out a shot slightly there. We've talked about the classics. I mean, that main tournament as well, very different because you had the crowds there. The oohs and the ahs, and it's up on the big screen as well, and you know that Tim's up in the commentary booth with sometimes Ian, Chris was up there talking on it as well. Neil's up there commentating on it, and What a fascinating competition that was. And I looked at the final, I don't know, whatever the final 8 or something like that. And it was amazing to see who was there. And I thought, wow, I don't know, you say Peter missed out, but there were just such good players there. And I feel the people in there, people like Luke and like Yun, who have had a fantastic last year. In pinball, I think they've been absolutely amazing. And obviously, you see Alan there as well, who we would have breakfast with on the Saturday morning. Was absolutely amazing.
That was his first ever competition.
Yeah.
The first ever competition. So we're talking about Alan Budd from Scotland, who'd come down with his old man, who absolutely was hating him because he was like getting through each round, and they had like a 7-hour drive back up afterwards, and you could just see Alan's face like, oh my god, I've made it through again, and he was
sorry.
Sorry, Dad, but we're gonna have to stay for another hour and a half or whatever each round was taking. But it was brilliant. And obviously Brad Atwood as well, who what a player he is. He's come from just in the last year from nowhere to making the final of one of the biggest tournaments that we've got. He did amazing. But yeah, just such gratitude to Wayne and Paul and to Tim and to all the helpers in terms of the scorers. With that main tournament, it was amazing. It was I think the best one that we've had. I think from my memory anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. There you go.
There's me and Matt. Oh, God.
Rich in the background there, Matt there, and Brad, who is such a tremendous player. I mean, Matt possibly played more pinball than anyone because he played in the playoff so he actually played one more round of games than Andy, if you think about it. Yeah. Had a tremendous event. The thing is, it's hard, and I know it's hard, and I look at that, and everyone that doesn't win is disappointed. But obviously, I was going to say only one person to win. I guess technically 2 people can win. There's 2 tournaments, just one person did it. And I know it's disappointing, but the standard is so high, and it's one little bounce here or there can often make the difference. Particularly when you've got. Let's have a chat about fishtails firstly. How bad was fishtails? What was your take on it? What was your take on it, Rich?
Oh my goodness! Like, I played it on the Friday, and if I hadn't, I wasn't privy to the scores over the weekend, and I just thought it played like a normal fishtails, and I had a quick practice game, got a multi-ball going, got a jack, got video mode going. Put up 80 mil and just move on to the next one, and thought, it's a pretty ordinary fishtails, but it proved to be a right. Like the top qualifying score was Greg with 120. I put up 115. Normally you'd expect us guys, that would be just a weak score, like 100 mil. I mean, it played awful. I mean, whose fishtails was that? I hope they're not watching.
Yeah, absolutely. No, they are watching, because I think it's probably Matt's. I think it might have been Matt's.
Oh, was it Matt's?
Have I got that right, Matt? Have I got that right?
It was Matt's. It was Matt's, but Majestic Pinball had done it up before the tournament. I don't. It's not fair to say it was consistent. Let's say that it was consistent. It was consistently rough for everybody. I think that it was definitely fair. I don't think it's it didn't play wrong or anything, or there wasn't any faults with it or anything like that. And I think that's important to point out. It's just it was just really, really tough. It was really, really tough to play in a kind of a weird way. It's not like all the outlanes were removed, or or it was on ridiculously hard settings. It was tough in that I think that the flipper alignment was kind of strange. The flippers were really bouncy, but at the same time, no excuses with it. I think that's my overriding thing. I got 4 million on it. That against Matt. That was the game that knocked me out. Matt got 12 and I got 4. But potentially 2 of the best players in the country were getting 12 million and 4 million on that fishtail. So It just shows how hard it was. But then, I played one game on it in qualifying, and I got 60 million. I got one jackpot, and I played video mode as well. And so it was just kind of like, I knew I could do it. So why, I think I thought about it a lot afterwards as well. And when there's £1,000 on the line, because the thing is, there is this kind of like I don't know, arrogance or something. There is this the macho-ness or something, like where on the forum, when afterwards, and Wayne will post up the stats, I'm sure, at some point, of like how many qualifying tickets went in and who qualified, and it's kind of like, I put my 20 quid in, and all 4 of mine I would have qualified on, or something like that. Whereas I think, and with my 20 quid, and I think that that's the wrong attitude to have. And I thought about this quite a lot since. And the right attitude to have is, I should have played on that fishtails 10 times in qualifying. I should have because I knew how rough it was. I knew how hard it was. But if I had
practice, you mean?
Yeah, no, I should have paid my £5 and had 10 goes on fishtails. I should have put more time on it, because I knew that I could play Godzilla. Do you know what I mean? I put my first ticket on it, and I put 500. So it's like, okay, so I know I can do that. But if I was taking it that like really seriously, and if I was to learn a lesson from it and try it again, I should have spent 100 quid, or maybe not 100 quid, but 50 quid or 60 quid, and really, really learn the games that I knew that I was going to struggle on. And I knew it. Me and Matt going into that final game, we said, so I won on Batman, which was a terrible game, by the way. Like I got 80 million and he got 60 million. It wasn't a good game. And then he beat me on Godzilla. Fair play to him. I should have taken that down, because that was my game. If I was going to choose any game, that was the one. And we said before the Godzilla game, he said, if it goes to fishtails, then basically it's a coin flip. It's like, it's a lockbox, but it isn't. It isn't. It's just the case of the amount of time that you have on a game. And if you put one game up and you do quite well, and you're like, oh, that'd be all right. But actually, I knew it wasn't like that. I couldn't track the ball ever on it. I couldn't shoot the boat ramps ever on it. So I should have spent more time on it, and I know that if I had spent more time on it, I would have got consistently better on it. So I think that that's a learning lesson. And it's also a lesson for those people who think, oh, I qualified on my foot. I only did one ticket. I qualified. I think that that's not if you want to try to win, I think actually spend a bit more cash, spend a bit more time, and learn how all the feeds are, learn how to play it, and find a definite method that's going to get you a decent number of points. I think that that's the thing that I really learned. Okay, so average score on fishtails over 178 heads, 20. That's higher than I thought it would be, to be honest.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's high. 22 million means that you're doing something. You're actually doing something.
Yeah,
whereas I had that game, a couple of games actually. I think I put 3 qualifying tickets up on it. No, 2 qualifying tickets up on it, and the one that I played in the final. I put 60 million and 8 million and then 4 million. So I definitely got worse, definitely.
So before we go any further, we just say hello to everybody. There's Alan, the man himself. Excellent.
Well done, mate.
Excellent performance. And he gone to the cricket on the way down as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Went to the test match, didn't they?
Really nice chat. Fair play.
Yeah, lovely guy. Stephen, another lovely guy. That's Dogard for the forum, just in case you don't know. Jim's just wants to say thank you to Phil for an awesome weekend. What else have we got here? David says, thank you for the kind words on JP and Dinah. Neil says hi. He says hey, not hi. And reminds everybody of the UK Open, which of course is on the 29th of September in Croydon. Go and take a look on the forum, Pinball Info. It's all there. All the information you need to know is in the thread on that one. So, Rich, we got we did our little bit of a little practice, and you got drawn on Batman, didn't you? And one thing I'm always amazed about when Craig was speaking, then it's about spend some extra money, learn the games. It's how well you top guys absorb the information and the rule set. I noticed it very, very early in this pinball journey of mine. When I've been around any of you folks that have grown up with pinball and just learned to play it, you watch a table and you have certain questions. I want you to watch it. Where's the adder ball? Where's the bone? You're looking. You want that information straight away. And I think certainly I was explaining it to you, Rich, in a way that I would probably want it explained to me. And I very, very quickly sussed out. Actually, you don't need it explained 3 or 4 times. You were getting it. And then just before the final, you came back to me on the final day and you said, okay, so let's just run through it, because you played it with me. We had a game of doubles on the Friday. And then the Saturday, you said to me, okay, let's just run through it again. What should I be avoiding? What should I hit? And just remind me of that mode. And then you said you got to a point. You said, yeah, okay, yeah. I think I know enough. You played really well on it, mate.
Yeah, thanks, man. Just before we go on to that, I've got a lot to say. I'd really like to get.
Please do, mate.
I've written some notes down. I'm so, you know what it's like after a podcast, after a Chinwag, and you're like, oh damn, I'm
glad, mate. Someone's got to be organised.
Okay, so first of all, I just want to say hi to Neil, and like the fact that WizCat Paul Garner has written down, the average score on Fishtails. I hope he didn't type in each and every score on a calculator. I hope that there's some spreadsheet method of actually pressing a couple of buttons and calculating that. That is ultimate geek, and I love you for that. That's wonderful that you can. Well, I would have said that it would be definitely under 22.8 mil. It felt like it was a 10 mil Fishtails, didn't it? But yeah, Neil's saying it's back in the UK Open. That'll be fun. At least we'll be primed for it. We'll watch all the Europeans struggle, won't we, Craig?
yeah, exactly right.
I did notice you can backhand the lock. If you've got a trap on the right, I did it successfully twice. You got a trap on the right, and you do a little.
The Europeans, some Europeans might be watching this, Rich.
Yeah, you still got to have the skill guns to do it.
Yeah.
But okay, we'll move on from Fishtails. Back to the main and some of the qualifying stories. First of all, I want to give out a massive shout to Alan Bird. I was hanging out with him on Friday, playing some casual games, and it was wonderful to hang out with him and play some games. And of course, that's one of the biggest stories of the whole tournament for me. Is that here's this guy driven 7 hours with his old man. He's never played in a tournament before. He plays the Gons and beats him on the Fishtails, and goes all the way to the brink of the qualification and the final, and just narrowly misses out. I just find that a wonderful story, and we can embellish on that. And I think once Alan's had that experience of knocking on the door for the big final of the biggest tournament in the UK, that he'll be a pinball addict from now, a competitive addict from now on, because I know I would be. One of the other big, before we get on to the biggest talking point of the whole qualification phase of the main at Pinfest, massive shout out to Dan's daughter Phoebe Lowell.
Oh yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
That
amazing.
She is unbelievable. I've known Phoebe and Effie since I want to say 5-6 years now, since and I've always encouraged them and helped them and want them to do well. So I obviously Dan's proud of them. I'm proud of them. We're all proud of Phoebe, and I think that's a wonderful achievement. For someone.
And Dan put on the kids tournament as well, of course.
That's right, and
the way that she did it as well. So she obviously, there were 3 classics in that main bank, weren't there?
She won on. I had a look, Craig. I've got the scores, and her qualifying ticket was on 3 classics.
That's right. Yeah,
and that would have been the 3 classics in the bank.
Sound tactics.
Brilliant. She said, didn't she? She openly said, she was like, I'm not good enough. I'm not quite good enough on that in order to compete with these top guys. Whereas you stick me on that, fairly simple. Keep the ball in play long enough, I've got as good a chance as anybody. And my God, she did. Fair play to her. And it was interesting because I spoke to Dan afterwards, and Effie's actually historically done a bit better than Phoebe. Effie's actually qualified for a bit more and perhaps finished a little bit higher than Phoebe. So it was definitely Phoebe's day in the sun, and fair play to her. She rose to it, and I genuinely was super proud of her as well. I told her as well, it was awesome to see her in that mix. I wish I'd got to play her, because it was in that first round, it was her versus Tux, and then they both knew that whoever won out of that would have been facing me. So it would have been awesome. And Dan was giving it the big one, and he was like, "She's gonna take you down." And,
Quite Quite right.
Yeah, awesome.
I watched the entire, over the shoulder because it was streamed, but I was actually, in Phoebe's corner for that duration, and me and Nick Marshall, Stormy, were giving her a few tips on Jurassic Park, and she that was a real banana skin for Tux. He was on a hiding to nothing, wasn't he? Playing Phoebe, and then obviously Phoebe Tux beat her on Jurassic Park, but then they went on to Lethal Weapon, and of course that's Dan's game, so
Yes.
Phoebe knows it all too well. But I thought that Lethal Weapon was a liability. I thought that
was the other one. That was the other one that I should have spent 10 games on,
Whose idea was it to put that game in the tournament bank? My goodness, no.
Well, you'll see. So Gons, we've got the whenever it is you release it. So we filmed actually it was my best qualifying attempt. Chris filmed it, and Lethal Weapon 3 was the first game that I put up on it, and I hadn't played it up until that point, and I was just trying to work it out. And all of a sudden, I'm just like, oh my God, these settings are ridiculous. You've got to hit the 3 sets of drop targets down in order to go. If Paul's still watching, I would love to know, Paul, how many multi-balls were started on Lethal Weapon 3 over the whole of qualifying. I bet it was less than 5.
Well, do you know what? He's already coming with the second round of stats. If anyone's going to give us those stats on Lethal Weapon, it's probably Paul in a minute, I'd imagine.
Fair play, mate. Fair play. Love the geek.
Yeah. There's a lot of geek in that hall. That's for sure. And I think it is fair to say I did see Dad and the girls at McDonald's after the event. I left Pinfest. I've got to feed myself something healthy, obviously. So I stopped to McDonald's for a little cheeky Mackie D's. And there they were a little celebratory Mackie D's. Trying to flog Lethal Weapon 3 in the car park.
Come on, right? Let's talk about the main event. Let's talk about it. Come on.
I want to go back to the qualifying stories. And
let's do it.
Another one for me, Craig and Gons, was the Orr family, and little James Orr, Yen's son, and he's 9 years old. He stands on a box, and he can get 125 mil on Jurassic Park.
Incredible.
Look at his scores. I watched that game, and that's unbelievable.
On that Jurassic Park, unbelievable,
mate. 125 mil in a final, I'd be almost tempted to take that.
Absolutely.
I would have taken it.
You would have. You 100% would have.
Yeah.
He's 9 years old and he stands on a box. This kid's amazing, and also the fact that Yen and Jin both qualified, it's wonderful to see that.
Fantastic stuff.
I want to give a shout out to
great family, lovely family.
I want to give a shout out to Brad Atwood as well. I've spent a bit of time with him up at Pinball Republic, and he's really smashing the moderns. He's an absolute master of the modern stones. I've seen some of his scores. There was a tournament, Craig, that I don't think you went to, but I was there for the rebranding of Flip Out to Pinball Republic. There was kind of a weekend of pinball, and there was a qualifying on the Sunday, and Brad Atwood finished second in that, and he just absolutely got some monstrous scores. So he's one to be reckoned with.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But it's good to see Yen's brother Jin. He also qualified.
Yeah. I spent a bit of time with Jin over the weekend. He's a really nice chap. He was actually playing the doubles game with me on Godzilla when I put up the 18 billion.
That's right. Poor most patient man in the world.
Yeah. He stood next to me for 2 hours and watched it. We had a good chat, and he's a really nice chap. And and fair play to him. He was delighted to qualify. He was in that position, and the thing, and you hear all of these stories as they're going along. Gene, he put 2 games in, and then you always hear about this. He waited for ages. What's the third game going to be? How long? Doing the maths. Trying to work out what I need to get, because that was what made me think of the Jurassic Park when you're talking about Yen's little boy. We were talking about it, Chris, weren't we? What your third game was going to be on your qualifying ticket. You were like, "Will 50 million get it for me on Jurassic Park?" And I was like, "No, it won't, mate." He was like, "Well, I'm not playing it then."
No guarantee. No guarantee.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and Jens little boys putting up 125 minutes at fair play to him. Yeah, no,
yeah. We got to move on to one of the biggest stories in the qualification, and that was our Gons and you know, going in on the third game, because we all know on a 3-ticket or 3-game ticket, we you know, so many of us have sort of blown up the first game, had a pretty decent second game, and gone into that third game, you know, under a huge amount of pressure and just bombed out and just threw the ticket away. And it's just like, oh, I've got to start again, more money, bloody, you know, where do I draw a line? So Gon's going into that game, you know, I did look at the scores earlier. And it was a choice. We were chatting, weren't we, Craig, at the night? You know, we're in Gonz's corner, and I was all excited for you, Gonz. And it was like, you know, what game does he choose? You know, and it was a toss up between. I think we looked at Fishtails, which is a crapshoot, as what Matt Vince referred it to, because it was, you know, and it's a lot of luck involved. You know, if you break a shot on that, it's a 50-50 chance of a drain, and we didn't want that. So we looked at Jurassic Park, and as you know, you alluded to now, 50 mil weren't going to do it. No. So only by process of elimination, it only left Turtles. And I looked at that ticket, and it turned out that Gons needed about 7.5 mil. To get,
that's what we worked out, wasn't it, Chris? It was about 8 million that you needed, like that we were thinking that was the aim for. And for us, that was kind of like, you know, if you can get yourselves into the 2 multiples, then and even though Chris was like, you know, I don't know the game, I don't know what I'm doing on it, mate. I don't know what, and I'm like, it plays nice, you know, and everybody hates Turtles, you know, in terms of competition because it's so brutal. But that one, that's Phil Dixon's Turtles. It shooted nice. It shoot nice, and the tilt wasn't too bad. But anyway, Chris, tell us about that whole ticket. Go. Tell us about what you did with the first game and the second game first of all, before we get into Turtles, because this is the whole weekend, mate. This was one of the stories of the entire weekend. So I want to give it its due.
Okay. Firstly, I think the thing is there was no pressure on me because I don't expect to do anything. It's not the main part of my weekend. My main part of my weekend is to drink and socialize and make videos. So that's the thing about Pinfest for me. So I put a ticket in. I wasn't even going to bother, to be fair. I didn't even do all the things on the tickets. I put it in. I think my first couple of rounds weren't great. I'd had my first ticket. I had a good game on Batman. I think on my second ticket, I can't even remember, to be fair. But what might have been nice the night before, Ian had taken me round and he'd shown me a couple of the older games. So I was quite confident on Batman, not just because it was mine. Here's the weird thing. I think because I'd spent the last 2 weeks, you would have seen in all the Chinwags, Batman was there, right? In that space that you can see behind me there. It's had the playfield up for months on it while I've been waiting for the stuff to get done. That's another story. I won't bore you with that. And so all I've been playing is really the last few weeks been Godzilla and Deadpool. And as we know, the flip arrangements are quite tough. And what was weird was when I played a Batman, and when you and I had that warm-up game, Rich, it was only really the tilt that was bothering me because Wade had adjusted it such. Actually, I was finding Batman pretty easy because I feel like I've been playing harder games. So I thought Batman was fine. I was quite confident of getting 100 million on it. I didn't really, which I did. I can't remember what I got, 100 and something million. And then the second one was onto Godzilla. Now I was aware because Craig had been talking to me the whole time about, you know, doing the 3 tickets. So I knew if I could get over 100 million on Godzilla, then I'd probably be okay. But again, no expectations. I can't remember. One of them I got 150 million on. One of them I got.
I've got the scores here. Gone. So you've got 151 mil on Batman and 136 on Godzilla, which is very respectable. And you finished 14th overall on your Batman out of 130 games, and on Godzilla you finished 26. So very respectable scores.
Consistent. That's what you need, isn't it? 3 consistent, not blow it up, but 3 consistent games. That's what you're aiming for, and you'll be in that top 24. And that's what we talked about a lot, Chris, wasn't it? It was like, it wasn't the case that you need to smash it out of the park, and you finally did it. You got those 2 together, and then we were just looking up and down the bank, and there was no third game. There was like, it just wasn't there.
There was none.
It wasn't there.
The picture, I was sat down talking about it with Craig for so long. And then I sat down, and then Rich came and joined us as well. And Rich was saying, so what have you been discussing? So, basically these two were almost, they were saying, okay, so Rich was saying, so what have we decided, Craig? What do you think you should do? And there was so much encouragement from you two guys, and there was going to be a lot more encouragement to follow after that. And this is, you talk about the start, we thank everybody. I've got to thank so many people for really making what was, I've got to be honest, one of my finest. I can't say, I don't know. It was up there in terms of finest moments. I was thrilled. I was buzzing, right? So anyway, get to this last game. Fishtails. You've got to remember, Fishtails has been in my house for the last 4 or 5 months. So I'm okay with Fishtails. Not with that one. That was playing totally different to the one I've had in my house. I thought that's too much jeopardy in that. I was struggling with Jurassic Park because, again, I've had Jurassic Park here. Sat in Monster Bash that's got swapped for Monster Bash. But I was really struggling with that before it went, even just to get a good run would be 150 million, which is why I knew that. And then I wasn't able to do the T-Rex mode because I found it hard to hit the captive ball from the lower flippers, which you need to start the T-Rex mode. So I thought, okay, that's not really an option. And I only played Turtles once before, and that was when I was drunk in the foyer at Pinfest last year. And that's it. I've never played it before. So maybe that helps. The fact that I don't know that Turtles is brutal. I don't hear all these things. I know whatever it might be, a Marmite pin. I don't really have an opinion on it because I've not played it. And I think, then very much you said this. I think at the time it was 10 million. I need to go there and get 10 million. Now, what was really interesting, and this is the highlight of my weekend, really, was I started. Was there perhaps an hour between my last game and then Turtles?
At least, yeah.
So all this decision when I played Turtles. The interesting thing about Turtles was at the end of the line, the very end, and I think what was interesting was I knew I had to do it, and by this time Yen had come over as well, again full of encouragement. So the three of you were always and you're telling me. So you said hit the right B. Donatello, was it Donatello? Was that it?
Yeah.
Choose Donatello
because
he gets he gets a multi-ball or something. Got to hit the right ramp and it gets a multi-ball straight away. And then you were saying that white shot up there. There's a white shot which is a ball lock. Now the really great thing was when I started doing that, one of the first shots I did was the ball lock. I thought, well, that's an easy shot to hit. It was an easy shot. That's good. I know that. What wasn't so easy was with the ramps, they're very steep, kept on rolling back down. It's like The Walking Dead's a bit like that, isn't it? And so it kept on rolling down to me. It was all a bit of a haze what happened. There's a few things that I do remember, and that was Yen saying you're gonna have to start. He didn't say you're gonna have to. It was you that said that, Craig. He said, "Don't forget there's a middle flipper," basically, because it was rolling past it, and I had forgotten. Okay, and then so once that was there, and I think I hit a couple of loops off the whatever that shot is, a bit like the warp ramp at the other side, isn't it? So I hit a couple of those, I think, and then I lost a ball or two or something. Things weren't going quite so well, and then Craig said to me, with absolute seriousness, he said, "You're gonna have to hit that right ramp, mate." And it was said so deadpan. Basically, it was like you're screwed if you don't hit that right ramp. But he didn't say it. But I think, to be fair, Craig, you knew I could handle me saying it.
Yeah. It was going into your third ball. You were on 2.5 million. We knew that you needed at least 8 in order to qualify. If you don't hit that right ramp, you are screwed. Yeah, that's basically it. And in that statement, and what did you do? Within 5 seconds, you trapped up on the left and you banged it straight away up that right ramp. And then all of a sudden, you were just in another zone, mate. We were talking about Andy Foster being in that. You were in that zone on that third ball of Turtles, and you had probably 25, 30 blokes screaming for you. Literally every single ramp you were hitting, you were like, yeah, go on, mate. And then all of a sudden, you hit the super jackpot for 4.5 million. And I'm like, oh my God. And then by this time, I've been told that I've got to go and play on Batman next to you. And I'm just flipping around watching you whilst I'm doing my qualifying game on Batman.
That's right.
And then you hit another 4.5 million. And then it's like up to 17 million. I'm like, oh my God, he's got a top 10 score here on Turtles. What's going on? He's never played it before. It was, I was just delighted for you, mate. I was really delighted for you.
I think the first time I knew about it, because so apart from the three of you, the only other person I knew was there was I think was aware was Tony.
Tony Malloy, yeah.
Tony was
on the left, and you were on the right, Craig. I was aware of that, and okay, that's great. And I think the thing I really knew was I either saved them or I did something that stopped something nasty happening, and I was just aware that there was certainly more than 4 people went, oh, like that. Oh, hold on, you know, and then I was aware, okay, there's probably, you know, it's probably a few people watching now. Oh, what a buzz!
When you started that right round multi-ball, there was a massive cheer, and then of course, you know, people are like, "Where's that cheer coming from?" And then
they're walking over, aren't they?
Everyone came over. I looked behind me, and there was like half a dozen people behind me, and people were looking around as to what's going on. But I knew that wasn't going to be enough in that Donatello multi-ball, whatever it's called. But when you started that, when you locked that third ball.
Yeah.
And started the regular multi-ball, I knew this is it. He's going to smash it. And that actually the jackpot on that game is the side ramp from the upper flipper. And then I was looking up at your score, and you're on like 11, 12 mil, 13, 14 in that multi-ball. And I just thought, yeah, he's qualified.
Well, I didn't look at the screen once.
No, but the whole thing was that that you seem to be like, even with all that energy on that single table, it didn't seem to throw you. You still stayed calm. Your body language was still. You were making your shots, and that is testament to your being able to play under pressure. Because I know players that are put in that position because that's probably the most important game of pinball you've ever played in your brief, you know, competitive career up to now, and for you to handle, you know, the situation in that manner. It made my Saturday night to see that.
I was so thrilled with everyone. You know, honestly, I was blessed. The support and the encouragement that I had from all of you. It meant the world. I couldn't get over it, really.
And how good was it as well when after you've done that, then we're all crowding around the screen waiting for it to go in. And it's like, oh my God, he's in ninth with Andy Foster and Wayne Johns. He's on the same number of points as Andy and Wayne. And then you've got your mates coming up to you and you're like, who's this charlatan? Who's this shyster? Who's got his way in there? It was amazing.
It was brilliant. And John was there, and John and Chris had come, you know, J Mac and Chris B, they'd come and started watching it as well. And
so good.
Was really, really.
I'm just going to run and get a charger because otherwise I'm going to cut out. Right?
Yeah, mate. But no, honestly, Rich, as an insight to what you guys do, it was like pinball on another level. You know, it was just all the, you know, the senses are heightened, and you're just, you know, you're in the moment, and I totally get it. I totally understand why people go to these events, and you're going to have it all again at the UK Open that Neil's putting on the 29th, of course. But why you go to these events, you know, and it's so serious, attention, and just, I mean, I was absolutely bowled over by it, really, and it's very addictive, actually.
Yeah. You could have so easily have been overwhelmed and felt out your depth and felt like, you know, you don't know the machine.
Well, that happened the next day.
So, you know, that the odds were against you qualifying. I did feel that you could do it, and we were all in your corner. But when you're at the flippers, you're on your own, and so, you know, that really was a wonderful testament to your ability to stay calm under pressure, and you need that if you want to succeed in pinball. There's just no way you're going to succeed in competitive pinball if you aren't able to sort of stay calm in a tight situation like that. And it did actually. I had a game on that Turtles game. I didn't, because if you look at the score, you finished 7th with 19.3 million, and that was 7th game on that machine a whole weekend, and there were only 6 scores higher out of 102 games on that game. So for you to finish in the top 7% of all games on that crucial game, it's just marvelous.
Yeah, it really is.
I'm absolutely chuffed with it. You know, really, really delighted. And yeah, what an experience, I've got to say. And you know, I'll definitely go in for that tournament every year. Now it's you know, I've got to be part of things. But I tell you what, just for anybody
Are you going to get a Turtles, Gons?
No. All the shots I do seem to be in the right places, though. But I tell you, do you remember when it came up for multiple? I said, "Oh, what's going on?" Because they all stopped. Do you remember?
Yeah. The flipper,
I said,
the flipper
I remember I
lift up.
said,
Yeah.
It's the pizza thing. It's the pizza thing. So like I've never seen it before, but I mean, it was. But again, I think that's a bit of an advantage, not knowing the game. So to an extent.
I know what you mean with that. I do know what you mean with that, because if you had played Fishtails and you walk up to it and you're expecting to make it to rock the boat, or you're expecting to do something on it, whereas actually all you're doing is listening to me and saying, shoot the right ramp and shoot the white lights, and that's it. And then if you just do those things and you execute that, then Craig's told me I'm going to get the score I need. So I'm going to do that, and you did it. And fair play, mate. It was, I was so happy for you. It was fantastic.
I know you were, and how happy you were really made it for me. I've got to say, really
we
made
all
it.
were.
So,
I think
all of us. Yeah.
I think in that situation you can overthink things. Like there's been many times when if I got to be critical of Greg, sometimes he overthinks things, and like if you overanalyze something and you're kind of like, work out all the possibilities, or
Greg Mott.
Yeah, he's a great friend of mine, and we've toured a lot playing pinball. But there's been many situations where he's got a tight qualification and needs a big score in a game, and he's trying to work out which game to play and how much points I need. I'm not saying that's wrong. Maybe I should do that, but I'm more of a feel player. If I feel like, right, I'm going in, and I haven't analysed it about what score I need on that machine and will it hold up for the rest of the qualifying period. And if I look at a bank of pinball machines, Craig, and I'm like, what would I play if I just wanted to entertain myself for the next 10-15 minutes? What would I gravitate towards? And when I've been in that position where I can pick a machine, I did it in the World Championships actually, and I love a bit of Walking Dead, so I was like, right, I was in a knockout game with Albert Nomdom in the World Championships, and it was like a really big game, and it was like I didn't really overthink it. I was just like, I'd love to play a game on Walking Dead, like a kid that would choose, in a sweet shop. What if you were showing the whole sweet shop and you said you can choose any sweets you want in this entire shop? I'm like, oh, I love a game on Walking Dead, and I played Walking Dead, and I think that a lot of the decision making can be based on what fun you can have out of the game, and
I think that's a great attitude, isn't it? I think it's a hard attitude to have. I think because there's a certain freedom with that, isn't there? There's like because if you're in that state of mind, there's a better chance that you're probably going to play well. Whereas if you're stressed and you know that you just need to get this number of points in order to scrape through, that's a bit of more of a negative attitude, isn't it? Rather than kind of just going, I'm just going to go and play a game that I enjoy. But I've experienced it from both sides. I've been definitely in that frame of mind where I'm just like, I'll pick Avatar because I know I can get to Link Multiple, even though I hate the game. I still just do it because I know that I can just grind away and get 12 million or whatever. And then there's been times where it's just like, I just love Flash Gordon. I just want to play Flash Gordon all day,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Wonderful. I'm also conscious that we could talk all night about this, so we perhaps should press on to.
I want to get to the final actually, Rich.
Straight to the final, and they're not going to go for it. We haven't got time, have we?
Let's just go to the final. Let's go to the final.
Yeah, let's go to the final there. Yeah. Before I do, let me just. You might get muted now, just so as we can see a little. There's Rich there in the final. He's actually on Jurassic Park, which was the last machine of the three in the final. Really tense. I mean, so this is all on the big screen. You can just see on the big screen, just to the left of Rich's head there. So everybody's looking at that. And this is the game I was talking about where Andy blew up a ridiculous score on the second ball there. But we talk about the oohs and the ahs, Rich. During that, you had some really, during that final, I mean, not just on that machine, you had some really dramatic ball saves. I think you really moved the machine really, really well. And there was like, hey! And there was lots of that going on. were you aware of the cheers and whatnot and the oohs and the ahs, or are you just you got your earplug? You wear headphones, don't you?
Yeah, I wear earplugs, but you know what, gents, like in my competitive pinball career, I've never known like an atmosphere like that with so many people with all the attention on one game. And it wasn't until because I was sat at the front with Greg, and it wasn't until I want to say, yeah, it wasn't until that third game that I realised like how far the crowd went back and how many people were watching. And like I've been in almost similar situations in Europe. Like I seem to remember one time I was in the semi-final of the Hungarian Open, and I look around and there's like best part of 100 people watching, and you can't let that get to you. I actually really enjoyed it. You know what, Craig? I had a bit of bad luck on the first game on blackjack. The first ball just went in the pops and spat it out the left out lane. Yeah. And I looked up on my score and it was 1970, and that's kind of like just oh man, yeah, and it just kind of set the tone for my final. But yeah,
I think you played really well on. I saw you earlier on. You'd around before. It was around before that on Batman, wasn't it? I thought you were banging form actually.
Yeah, just to rewind it, I've got to give a shout out to Luke Grayson for his efforts, because he made the semi-final, and like me and him played. We played the first game on Hot Wheels, which I got a crash course in Hot Wheels from the Wallaces, and I managed to execute. I didn't have a great score, but I think I got about 150 or something, and Luke was a bit didn't really seem to know what he was doing on it. And then we played blackjack, and Luke had a house ball, and I was like, "Oh, this is my opportunity." And then it housed me. That blackjack screwed me in the semi and the final. Like I think I got less. Craig, I got 15 million on blackjack in the semi-final. Do you know what I mean? Just a plunge player could probably get more than that.
Yeah.
And so it meant that we went to a third game on Batman 66, and that was when. I asked Gonz, just give me a brief crash course before I go on. And it really calmed me, actually, Gonz. And I'm glad I had that chat with you, because, going into our third ball, this was the deciding game to see who would make the final. It's a big game of pinball, right? And we were both waiting for our game, me and Luke. And Luke's giving me a lift home. He's giving me a lift home. And we end up in the semi-final on this Batman 66, and we had to wait about 10 minutes, sat to next to each other, and Luke was asking me a few small talk things. Oh, did you play that? And I was like, Luke, can we just be quiet now? No, because I'm very meditative. I kind of I kind of go within. You know what it's like, Craig, to muster up the kind of, I don't know, to call upon that force, or whatever you want to call it, the zone, the I don't know, the pinball wizardry, the connection to all that is and all that has ever been and all that will ever be, and to channel that. That's my secret given away there. And going into our last ball on Batman, like we're both on less than 15 million, and I've got nothing going. And thankfully, I was the player one, and I got a multi-ball going. I had the slings took the TV shots out, Gons, and I knew to shoot that left loop. And it was good that you informed me about that. There's a screw loose, and that shot doesn't always make it round to the mystery. And in fact, if you shot the right loop, it went into the mystery.
You got it. I was watching it on the. I was in the commentary bit.
So basically, I was able to start a shame. And as Craig knows, once you start a multi-ball, you relax a bit, don't you? And I knew how to get the other ball. I was in a mode, and I shot a few ramps and loops, and I looked up, and I was on about 60 or 70. Then I already had the next TV award lit, and I don't know if it's the right strategy, but I chose, I shot the mystery and started another, the second Shane multi-ball. And, I looked up on my scores on 150, 170, 180, came out of multi-ball, in another mode, and then you get an opportunity to cash your jackpot. I cashed the jackpot. drained on about 260, and like I'm thinking, well, that's that.
Great
Good
score.
luck.
Great
Good luck. Good luck trying to catch that on your last ball in a semi-final. But fair play if you did it. And it's just one of those ones where you kind of like, I know you walk 50 meters away and you're watching between your hands, aren't you? Like, yeah, and you're just kind of watching the body language of who's at the machine, whether they're going to walk away or not. And if they stay at the machine for 5 minutes, you're a little bit concerned. But fair play to Luke. He is a great player, and we play every night, especially when lit. And I got to give a shout out to Luke Grayson, because I feel we'll see more of him in the latter stages of the business end of these tournaments. And I managed to qualify in the final in that fashion, and I'm aware that we're running over, but I think Pinfest deserves a bit of a longer podcast. So in the final, I had a bit of bad luck, but I did get a tap pass in. I was just like, you know what, even if Blackjack's not going to play ball, I got a trapped on the right. I didn't even have the scoop lit. I was just like, yeah, I just want to tap, and it's like, because if you can tap in a final, it shows you're cool under pressure, and it wasn't easy to do that. And I'm all my sporting heroes are showboaters. Like Alex Higgins in snooker. Some of the football showboaters that I've admired over the years. Your Eric Cantonars. I'm trying to think of a Hammers player that I loved, but
it's plenty. I don't know why it's taking you so long to think of one. To be honest with you, Rich.
And so I mean, it felt like my goose was cooked when I got a 0 on that first game, and then we went on to Fishtails, and of course that was we've already it's well documented how brutal that game is, and I think I was on 14 million, but it was good enough to get a point. It might have been good enough to get 2 points, because obviously Matt was clear on he started the video mode and got the monster fish. It's so satisfying when you make that monster fish and get the video mode, Craig, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so Matt was on 63, which is quite a big decent score in that game. And so when Andy passed me, it was player 4, and then Andy took 2 points, and I took a 1. It was 6-6, 1-1 going into the last game. So obviously me and Brad were playing for third, and Matt and Andy were playing for the title. And obviously. Yeah, I couldn't really get. I had a decent game on Jurassic Park in qualifying. I put up 350 on it. I was comfortable on it. I knew what to do, but I just couldn't do it. And a massive shout out to Brad Atwood. I think that it was wonderful to see him there with his wife and his daughter, and I'm kind of pleased for him. It's like I am pleased for him, and I'm sure we'll see a lot more of him in the latter stages of these big tournaments in the UK and of course, with Andy and Matt battling out for the title, Andy blowing it up. It's just testament to Andy's, skills and I really wish that Andy all the best in his pinball career, because it feels like I'm proud. I'm proud to have made the final. I'm 54 years of age. I'm curious to ask Craig. I'll just pass the ball to Craig with a question, and that is, mate, you won the last 2 Pinfests. Now, obviously, you did okay. You did great in the classics, but you didn't make the final. Is there a part of you that's like, now you've won it, is there anything other than a win at a tournament like that, a failure or a disappointment, or how do you see it? As how do you see that?
It's tricky, isn't it? I spoke to you about this, Chris, didn't I? It's a really tough one to answer, that one, mate. I came second in the classics, and I was disappointed. It's impossible to. I've got to this. I guess I've got to this. It's different, isn't it, in Europe? If I came second in Europe and I'm playing against different players, but when it's the case that I'm competing against players that I've played a lot with over the years, it's kind of. That's when I really know where I feel like I should be, and so it's kind of after, I don't know, a couple of hours or whatever, I'm like, it's great. I came second in the classics out of 91 players. There were so many. I could have easily not qualified. Easily in that format not qualified. You know, I was fighting right up until the end to qualify. So to get second is amazing. But there's always that bit of me that's like, you know, I have super high expectations with myself. You know, and yeah, I wanted to win it for the third time. I did. Like that's the reality of it. And in many ways, I feel like, you know, I should have won that against Matt. You know, I feel like I should have. You know, because it was on Godzilla. You know, I'd won on Batman, and then you put me on the game that I would have chosen over any other. I got the top qualifying score by quite a way on it. You know, it's the game. It's the game that I've only been playing for the last like 2 months. I had no excuses, and Matt brought it. You know, he absolutely brought it. He took me apart and destroyed the game. So it's like there was a disappointment, but at the same time, when you experience that, it's like fair play. You well and truly beat me. So it's not like in many ways in the main, it was like I got over that one quicker. You know, even though I didn't make the final, Matt beat me, and on Fishtails, we both played bad, but he played slightly better. At least he shot about 4 ramps, whereas I didn't shoot any. You know, so it's kind of like, you know, he deserved it 100%. Whereas in the classics, I felt like I had it in my control because it was on Sorcerer, and I felt like, you know, I should have done that. I didn't. So yeah, no, it's a tricky question to answer, and I don't want to come across as arrogant, but I just have high expectations.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. I just want to respond to a couple of comments in the chat live. I feel it's really important.
Tell me, I'll pop them up, mate.
Yeah, wave breaking. You need to learn to calm down when you're nudging the table. You nearly knocked the camera equipment over. Everyone knows I love a slide save, and Stearns the debounce on the modern Stearns will allow you one slide save. It's perfectly within the rules, and as long as you're not knocking the machine out of its feet, then the IFPA rules state that, you know, it's fine to make a slide save. And like Neil said, you know, if you aren't tilting, you aren't trying. And even Tim said, camera setup is engineered for this. Players come first. And, you know, win does not. That's Ian. You're not thinking about rigs when you're playing in a comp like that, especially in the latter stages. It's so true. You know, Craig, you know what I'm on about. If you can avoid a center drain.
What do you mean, just Craig? Is it not? There's not 3 of us. Three of us top players here. It's just Craig.
Oh, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that.
I'm joking. I'm joking, Rich. I'm joking.
Yeah, I want to tilt you this. I want to show you the slide save. So basically, if a ball is going straight down the middle on one of these modern Stearns, you can use up, you know, 1 or 2 of your dangers to make damn sure that ball's not going out, and you are going to get flipper on it, right? And I use that a lot because I'm quite physical. I'm quite animated when I play, and Craig knows that there is the odd time when a ball it is on a certain trajectory where you literally can't get flipper on it, and you use the slide save, don't you, Craig?
You look if you want to watch back on that Godzilla game against me and Matt, I just did a pretty huge one, and Wayne actually commented, he was like, I really need to tighten my tilt on Godzilla, but it was just the case that I just because it was going right down the middle. So yeah, absolutely, it's when you're in that scenario, everyone gets it, you know. Especially in the later stages, you do what is necessary in order to keep going.
Well, I need to find out about this slide save thing. This sounds like the magic stuff, really. Another video, Craig. Another video. And I'll tell you what, epic final, really good.
Yeah, and fair play to Andy. It is pretty rare to do that. Like, you know, I think Martin might have done it. Yeah, to do the both, you know, to win the main and the classics. I think I've done it once. I think Martin might have done it once. But Andy, you know, neither of them were as big as that. You know, for Andy to take home both, that is what an achievement. Fair play, mate. You are without doubt the number one in the UK. You know, you are top. He's on that front page of the website. That is, you know, that's always been something that I've wanted to try to do, and I've never been able to do it. And Martin did it. He didn't do it once, but Andy's up there now, and he's in that top.
He's on the thumbnail. There he is.
There he is. Look at him. Look at him. What a man. Fair play to you, mate. Like, absolutely delighted for you, and keep going. That's all I'd say.
We'll all have to get a pair of those shorts for the next tournament, won't we?
Let's have a look.
Oh,
I'll tell you what. They're not those shorts. They're not dissimilar. I think you would agree, Craig. Albeit in colour.
It's true.
The white and the blue striped short is not dissimilar to your budgie smugglers, mate, that you wore in the sauna in the morning, right?
Right. I think that's gone too far, mate. I think we've gone too far there. It revealed a little bit too much of our inner relationship there, Gon.
Absolutely. And all part of what goes in Pinfest gets spoken about on the Chinwag.
Exactly right.
Well, I'll tell you, listen, really great. Great for Andy, and it was a really great final, and Matt played tremendously well as well. And Brad to be in there, as you say, Rich, it was really entertaining, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And just to go on to what Rich was saying about the atmosphere, I don't know about other pinball tournaments. Never been to one, but I think what's a massive part of it is Pinfest being over and the machines start getting switched off. As the machines start getting switched off, people gradually, you basically got two choices. You either leave or you go and watch the tournament. So as each machine gets switched off, another person comes and watches, and the crowd just expands. And actually the timing of it is perfect. Whereas you're getting to the real meat of the tournament, the real crucial part of it, the crowd just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's just a combination of you watching it and watching the screen, and watching the you can watch the big screen, which is in time, but there's a smaller screen which is a little bit behind. So Jurassic Park's a really interesting game because there's so many animations in it. The score doesn't come up very much. And obviously you don't know it's because you're playing, but when you're playing 4-player, you're constantly looking what's their score, but it'll go to another animation. There'll be a T-Rex, there'll be a helicopter coming over and picking up a dinosaur. But when those animations happen, the score isn't on there. So almost more so than any other game that I'd seen that I noticed. So it was actually quite hard to follow on it. But absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Guys, thanks for joining me.
It's been a pleasure, mate.
Absolute pleasure.
And
I've just got to say we could rap until I don't know midnight, couldn't we? But we have got to wrap it up. It's wonderful, how passionate we all are about pinball. That it's testament to our passion for the game, all of us, and that we actually be conscious of the time, because I think this is probably the longest podcast ever.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm also very aware that we've talked a lot about the competitive side of stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that this was the weekend that I enjoyed the most outside of the competition and
Absolutely,
just socializing with people. Yeah. I really loved it. I got to chat with people that I really care about, and do so much for the hobby, and the whole show was just immense. It really was, and just came away just feeling just like what a weekend. So appreciative. What amazing people. And some really great friends, So thanks so much, and cheers for you, Chris, as well. It's amazing that you still got the buzz for it. It's been over a year now of you doing this, and you just keeping going, and I think it adds so much to the whole scene. So just a lot of love from me, really.
Thank you. I'm pleased to be a part of it, Craig. To be perfectly honest with you, and it wasn't. This is. I do want everyone. This is like, the whole point of this channel was meant to be a magazine program of UK pinball. That was the whole thing when I started it, to showcase almost everything, and to have games in it, to have competition, to have repairs, refurbishments, all to have almost every facet of the hobby. And there wasn't enough time. I wanted to go and spend time with Phil and look at the Forbidden Planet more, and really have a dedicated video on that. I wanted the Aladdin one. I come away with so many things I didn't do. The Pinball Amigos, I didn't get enough of that. Really, so many people that I didn't speak to, just so many. Alan, bless him, showing me who's agreed to lend me his World Cup soccer, which I really enjoyed playing there as well, and he's trying to convince me that I like Twilight Zone, which was a particular highlight of the weekend, which was great fun. Great, a bit of mischief there, and maybe had a right laugh. Oh my goodness, the story that I heard in in a ladies' tournament was, well, to be fair, Elsa's going to have to come on and explain herself. I will say no more than that, certainly. But I mean, and there's other people, you'll finish doing this and you'll think, oh, I should have spoken about this.
Oh, well, like what you mentioned at the beginning about Foyberg, my God, like that 3 a.m. Literally, he must have had about 100 sticks on his head. Literally, at one point, he had a chessboard, a fully laid chessboard on his head, and he passed out. It just just so many stories. So and the thing is, it's an outpouring of that love, and we are going to miss some stuff. But I'm sure for the next 6 months, we're still going to be talking about it. So it's awesome stuff.
Absolutely. And thank you to Andy as well for sending me the clips. There was some, in fact, I'll show you. He sent me one here, which was a lovely one, which was after where's Alan? I've labelled it, which is just after Alan beat me on on Fishtails. So what happened is Andy filmed this. Andy filmed this and he sent it through. Not just this, he filmed a load of stuff, sent it through, which was, really, really good. Really good. There's Alan there, who played ever so well. We're going to get Alan on at some point. That's the other thing I wanted to say, by the way, folks. If you're watching this as well, on the forum, Pinball Info, there's a Chinwag thread. If you just put in the search bar, Chinwag. When I first started doing this, I asked for people that wanted to be on the Chinwag. This is... it's basically hard to keep track of everything, is what I'm saying. So if I'd love more people, I want to do more Chinwags with more people all throughout the year. So if you are interested in coming on a Chinwag, hopefully, I know it was probably difficult at the start. Think what's this channel? Who's this guy on the? So I'm not doing that. There's like a little moth or something. If you're wondering what I'm doing, I haven't farted or anything. There's a moth, right? Hopefully you appreciate that. The channel really is for everybody. I'm not looking to stitch anybody up. I want to have everybody's experiences. So if you haven't appeared on the Chinwag and you want to be on there, please just post it on the thread. Then I'll start working through them. It'd be lovely to have more people on. I've got more videos. We have chatted about the competition an awful lot on this video. Yeah. That's only right. We've got Craig here, we've got Rich here, who are amazing players and we're so heavily involved and both finalists. So, of course, we're going to talk about that. But there are other videos that are going to come up that I do have from the weekend. I just got to stitch them together. Hopefully, you'll enjoy the vlog. It's a little bit different, but it was the most efficient way for me to record the last day. Bearing in mind, I didn't expect to be playing in the tournament, and also I wanted to follow the classics we hadn't done last year. I wanted to follow the main tournament and play in a little bit and do some commentary and play on a couple of games as well, and eat my third curry of the weekend, which I felt was important. So so hopefully you'll enjoy the vlog, and you should see a lot of different things on there, lots of other videos coming up. So I'll say a massive thank you to everybody. And when we said it again, it sort of comes back to Phil, doesn't it? Go full circle. Thank you so much, Phil, and all the Northern Lights folk there, and Elsa College, everybody, and we've discussed it. We've said a massive thank you to everybody there. Craig, thank you, my friend.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate it.
Rich, thank you, mate.
Yeah, thank you. And
I do really appreciate your support over the weekend. Real highlight. I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that. Really, really special moment indeed. Oh yeah, we've got lots of stuff coming up. Lots of stuff. Look. Huh? What's that? So a massive thank you to Matt. We have a Medieval Madness in the house, so there's going to be a bit of Medieval Madness on the channel, which will be really good. And all you people that have been to pinball for years can watch the video and think, look at this muppet, he's just discovered there's a castle on that pinball machine. Oh wow, it's amazing, there's a catapult. Who would have imagined such a thing? Anyway, thanks guys.
Cheers, mate.
And thank you to everybody that's followed the channel, and thanks to everybody that I met at Pinfest. Take care.